Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. And today, we are going to talk about dealing with information overload. So this is the fourth of our special 5-episode series this week, which are solo casts, where I have answered questions from our audience. And I feel this is a very important area to touch on because information overload can be a huge issue, especially if you are in that journey to get your first book published. Because if you ask around, you're going to get advice. If you ask a lot of people, you're going to get a lot of different advice. And I think that can be really challenging because when I started my own journey, I actually was watching a virtual summit about publishing. And this was back in the summer of 2015. And even during that summit, all the different guests had different ideas. Well, you should have a funnel. You should focus on marketing. You should use social media. You should use book promo services. So what I did was I came up with a list of the best practices. And for me, dealing with that information overload, I chose to streamline it and utilize the 80-20 principle, where 20% of what you're working on gives you 80% of those results. And what I decided to do was with my launch, I wanted to keep things very basic. So on the publishing side, I knew that I needed to find an editor. I went out and found an amazing editor that's edited just about every single one of my books over the last 5 years. Then I found a formatter. This formatter has done all of our books, and she's also done many of the books for our clients. Then I found a book cover designer. First book cover designer I worked with for roughly two and a half years. And then I found another designer who I thought was just amazing, and we've worked together ever since. So I was able to get that core foundation going. And that's the thing. When you are publishing your own book, and if you are going to try to do this yourself, then definitely find an editor. Find a book formatter. Make sure that you have your book in Kindle and paperback, because that was one of the best practices that I got from that summit and through Google research, was the fact that you always want to have at least your Kindle version and your paperback version of your book, especially to utilize it for lead generation and the opportunity to connect with people in person. Those are the things to focus on the publishing side. On the marketing side, I don't want to go too deeply into funnels because there's so many different options, and trust me, I've used ClickFunnels, I've used Kartra, which I absolutely love. I utilize lead pages to this day. There's a lot of different ways to go around this, but I want to give you 2 easy funnels. The first one, you want to have some sort of guide or something, whether it's an audiobook version of your book, whether it's a guide, a PDF checklist, but something that you can either stage on your website through a WordPress application, or what I use is lead pages. With lead pages, you can have it created pretty quickly. You can then have it on your website with the website redirect, and just do it that way. If you go to my website, if you go to BrodieConsultingGroup.com or GetPublishedPodcast.com, you see there's an offer for a free book. You click on it, and then you see that we have a timer set up. You have so much time where you can actually download the book. You download it, and then from that point, we don't have any big fancy Alice in Wonderland type of wormhole. All we do is we send you it, and then we redirect you to our services page, or we'll have a custom page just based on what's going on at the time. But other than that, that's how fancy you need to keep it in terms of funnels, because you do want to add people to start to build your email list. And I think that is absolutely critical. You need to have control of your own audience, because if you don't, then if you're utilizing Facebook advertising, or if you have a Facebook group, I have a Facebook group. I have a lot of people in our Get Published group, but Facebook, but I will go into Amazon in a minute. Facebook can, at their whim, change their algorithm, and all those people in the group may not be seeing your posts. And I got a little ahead of myself thinking about Amazon, because if you're then hearing advice, well, you should use Amazon marketing services to promote your book. I'm not a fan of that anymore. And trust me, I have made tens of thousands of dollars in royalties. And the thing is that we also have to spend a lot of money to make that money. And for what I'm seeing right now, the best thing to do is to focus your book as a lead generation tool, get to your launch, hit bestseller, and then utilize that leverage to utilize that for your website, your business, and your brand, because having that best-selling author piece is huge. And if you can hit number one in at least one category over a weekend, then do it, because that is one of the great strategies that you can utilize. Now, in terms of marketing, yeah, social media is great for awareness, but I will tell you the best thing to do is utilize book promo sites. Create a launch plan. Go online, do some research. I love Free Booksy, which I discussed earlier this week for the free portion of your book, and I love Buck Books when your Kindle version is 99 cents. So again, I'm focusing on the Kindle version for the launch to drive traffic, 5 days free, and then several days at 99 cents. And I repeat this because these are the main things that you need when you're dealing with that information overload with your first book, because you're going to hear a lot of advice. Have a base funnel, something like lead pages, something on your site. You want to be able to get as many of those readers converted into your audience. And then the question I get asked is, well, then what do I do? What do I do after that? Well, you communicate with your list. Ideally, once a week. Now, you're going to hear the Frank Kerns of the world and some of these other digital marketers like Russell Brunson go, no, you need to contact people daily or 5 times a week. Personally, I'm not a fan of that. Now, I understand we have something going on. You're going to probably send a few more emails when we're promoting our summits or when we're promoting a live training that we're doing. For instance, we're actually doing a live training today at noon Central Time. And you can actually get a little more information on that on our website. You can also be on my list. We can give you more info on that. The reason I mentioned that is because I did send a couple of extra emails to my list this week just to remind them that we have the free training. And if you guys want to get some more information, check it out. Here you go. Total soft sell. But just let you know, hey, I do have something coming up. Would love to have you potentially attend. Those are the things that you can utilize. Also, sharing your story. I am doing a talk next week with our local Chamber of Commerce where I'm talking about sharing your story and growing your business virtually and really focusing on that. And especially for those of you that are coaches and consultants and you have a back-end product that you can leverage with this book. Now, the other piece that I do recommend is get a Calendly account. They have a free base account, doesn't cost you anything. That's the only other piece I would put in the book. If you are selling a product, then invite those readers to schedule a strategy session with you, but make sure your offer is clear. In my books, the offer is our book publishing and our book launch marketing services. With my upcoming virtual summit book, with that one, we're talking about our done-for-you virtual summit creation, which is an extension of our publishing business. So these are the things that you want to have. You want to have that lead pages or WordPress plugin where you can acquire readers and get them on your list. And the second thing for the coaches, consultants, people that want to sell something with the book and just have the book as the foundation of their platform, which are most of the clients that we work with, then you want to be able to utilize an invitation and then have them book a session with you on Calendly. And those are really the main pieces, because I get it. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of experts. And I would tell you, at the end of the day, when you're publishing a book, are you an author? Absolutely. Guess what? You're also an entrepreneur. You're an authorpreneur. You're a business owner, especially if you utilize this for your business. And you're a digital marketer. And I want to emphasize that again. You are also a digital marketer, and you have to figure out the best way to have a successful launch. And in my view, you need to utilize paid advertising. Use the Free Booksies of the world, utilize the Buck Books, and have a solid launch plan. And then the other thing is category research too. That's important. because you want to make sure you have your books in some competitive categories and some not so competitive categories. But those, I think, are the main thing. And for those of you that are struggling with information overload to finish your book, I'm going to give you the advice that I gave myself 5 years ago. And this is the same advice I give my clients that struggle with this. You have to disconnect. How do you disconnect? You turn it off your Wi-Fi, you're turning off your TV, you're unplugging. You even turn off your smart devices. For those of you that have Echo Dots and those type of devices, you want to disconnect as much as possible and focus an hour a day to get your book done. And it doesn't have to be War and Peace, doesn't have to be Great Gatsby. It needs to be something 15 to 30,000 words tops, something that's going to connect with the audience, that's direct and to the point. Typically, that's between 1,000 and 1,500 words a chapter, ideally, and going typically from 10 to 12 chapters. You can talk it out via voice memo. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but the whole point of this episode is I want to help you with dealing with information overload, because I think it's one of the things that really, it hurts people when they're trying to get the book done, because they're thinking, oh, well, I've got to get this done, I've got to get that done. And guess what? 5 years suddenly pass, or 4 years suddenly pass. And I say that as an example because guess what? When I was wanting to write my own book, it took 4 years to get started because I just didn't know the steps. And I was very intimidated about the publishing, about the marketing. But finally I said, screw it, just do it. Let's get it done. And here we are. 5 years later, have a thriving publishing business, book launch marketing business, and then now with our expansion to Done For You Summit services. So trust me, if I can do this, then you can do it. And as always, I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead. Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.